Breaking news, we are on verdict watch here at HLN. Jury in their second day of deliberations in the Michael Jackson death trial. Will they find Dr. Conrad Murray guilty of involuntary manslaughter in the death of the King of Pop? We have breaking news, and we're going to share it with you throughout the afternoon. An exclusive interview with Dr. Arnold Klein, Michael Jackson's dermatologist. We'll be playing some of that for you. We just heard a little bit. He said Michael Jackson was not an addict, but then later in the interview, you're going to hear him say he was pretty much addicted to propofol. There are some contradictions here. I want to go to John Manuelian, criminal defense attorney. John, what do you think of Arnold Klein? As this jury deliberates, is this jury talking about Arnold Klein? Are they talking about Demerol and whether or not Michael Jackson was addicted to the stuff?
You know, Chernoff didn't really hammer that point enough, Mike, during his closing argument, so I don't know. It was a point during the entire trial, but Chernoff sort of, his soda lacked, just went to fizz at the closing argument. He just tired out and really didn't go over that. So I don't know if they're really talking about that right now, but what surprises me is the fact that Klein's talking to Gene Casares. Surprises me that he talked so much and said what he said. So a lot of surprising things have been happening in the past 24 hours. And
again, there you're looking at some of the footage of that interview with our Gene Casares. What struck you about it, John?
Well, the fact that Garo Gazarian has been vehemently, having him blocked from the media, doing all his media appearances for him, and then all of a sudden he just pops out of nowhere and is verbose, is gregarious, is offering a lot of details. Why now? Why did he come forward now? It just strikes me the timing is just really interesting.
Got it. And again, we're going to be listening to some more of that. It's breaking news, exclusive interview with our Gene Casares, talking about he did 3 interventions to get Michael off the propofol. That's interesting stuff. Want to listen, though, John. This is David Walgren's rebuttal closing, very end, and he makes it very simple, basically telling the jury it's not that complicated. Let's give that a quick listen.
And I trust you'll find that, again, although you have a very important role, at the end of the day, the issue of whether or not Conrad Murray was criminally negligent is not that complicated. This type of medical care has never been seen. This was a pharmaceutical experiment in a bedroom.
Toward the very end of David Walgren's rebuttal closing. John, did he bring it home? And do you think he really brought it home with that simple argument? Because they've been going with simplicity pretty much since day one.
I love the pharmaceutical experiment argument. David Walgren did bring it home, and the problem is Chernoff did not attack the deviation points of Steinberg, didn't attack what Schaefer said, just left it all up there. I don't know what was going on in Chernoff's mind. He was not aggressive. Walgren, on the other hand, just perfect. I mean, it's just surgical strikes with all of his issues. He's right on the money with the common sense. It's not complicated as far as abandonment is concerned. Made it very easy for this jury to come back and vote guilty, but we just have to wait and see at this point.
Right, day 2 here, jury deliberations. We are on verdict watch here at HLN. Today could be the day we find out the fate of Dr. Conrad Murray. Let's go to John Manuelian, criminal defense attorney. John, that's an interesting note as we see that. And let me ask you, as someone who's tried cases, how much can closing arguments win or lose a case? And do you think that they're the difference maker in a case like this?
I think usually, believe it or not, most of the jurors have made up their minds in the opening statements, and all the closing is doing is tying up what you said in the opening statements. Remember, the opening argument are promises, are a set of promises you tell a jury that you're going to keep. And Walgren, in this situation, did keep all his promises, did tie everything up. Everything that he said in the opening statement was corroborated in his closing statements through Schaefer's testimony, through Steinberg's testimony. So it was very, very well done. Chernoff, on the other hand, notes were all over the place. He was sweating. He even said, is it hot in here? Is it just me? He was rambling. He was crossing his arms. He was all over the place. I actually wanted to go in that courthouse and throw in a white towel for him, Mike.
Wow. Well, does the jury understand all that? Do they remember all that? The promises in opening, maybe not fulfilled through a trial and brought home in closing?
If it's brought out, and that's what the defense attorney's supposed to be doing, mentioning all the things Walgren said that he never tied up. But the honest truth is Walgren did tie everything that he set up. But Chernoff needed to go back and talk about the deviations and why they weren't deviations. 17 deviations mentioned by Schaefer. 6 mentioned by Dr. Steinberg. None of this was discussed. He just walked out of there, and his last words were something to the effect of, well, do the right thing. and he just sat down. I'm very, very critical of Chernoff, have always been, and I just think he just died out. He fizzed out at the end.
No, and truth be told, John, as you and I have walked through this case together a lot, through most of it, you have looked for ways. You're a criminal defense attorney. You brought that side, and you've also been very honest that you don't think Ed Chernoff, Michael Flanagan did a great job. Let's be honest. Correct?
It's an in-defense. That's correct.
Okay. All right, I got the counselor. Two-word answer. I love it. Okay. I want to go back to John Manuelian, criminal defense attorney. John's been doing a great job providing insight throughout this trial. John, as you look at this jury, is there any one juror that stands out to you, or just the entire makeup of the jury that stands out to you?
There's somebody on that panel that has a wife, and she's a nurse practitioner. That person concerns me. And that person concerns me because, you know, although there's been an admonition by the judge not to talk about this case, Mike, human nature is just normal to maybe ask a question or two. So I'm very concerned about what, if any, information he may have discussed with his wife. And, of course, the other jurors are also. I mean, this is a huge case. It's been printed everywhere. When I just walked to the studios today, I saw the newspapers out in front of me. You see the tickers and the signs up on the wall, the advertisements. How can you possibly avoid what people are saying on this case? So I've always thought from the beginning, this jury should have been sequestered. So to me, the fact that it's not even sequestered is problematic in and of itself.
Interesting. All right. Well, let's talk about some of the final words they heard, John. Again, closing arguments from both sides. I think both sides did a pretty good job, even though you've been very critical of defense attorney Ed Chernoff. Let's go to David Walgren's rebuttal closing. I thought he was better in his closing. He was passionate, and he laid it out there. And I thought this was powerful when he just said, you know, Conrad Murray said he loved Michael Jackson. Well, really, at the end of the day, actions speak louder than words. Let's listen to that, John.